Hello, my name is Dave Schroeder. I'm Executive Director of the Kenton County Public Library in Northern Kentucky, and we're going to be talking a little bit today about libraries as community centers. And I try to think of a library as being having all the roles as a traditional library has had for many years. We certainly still check out many books, and that's our bread and butter, but we have also expanded into other areas. One of those is more community center type activities. Libraries have been doing that for many years. We've just been doing more of it. So as an example, when you look through our library minute books, you'll see that from the early 1900s we have been doing programming. I started working in libraries and archives 32 years ago, so I've been in this business a long time, and I've seen a lot of changes. One of those is how many people we're bringing in the door for other reasons besides just checking out books. It's very important to make sure that people who are in the community know what the library has to offer. I think many of them still see the library as being a book repository, but we also are so much more. And getting people into the doors to see what we have to offer is very important. And then hopefully they will see that their love of reading and their love of books also play a significant role in what we do, and we'll start using the library again. Bringing people into the doors is very important, but also providing information in a way that meets people's needs. We often think of libraries as somebody sitting down and reading a book, but libraries can offer information in many different ways. Programming is one of those. We're going to talk about that specifically in a few minutes. Providing meeting space to the community is a very important role, and we're going to talk about that as well. Also, being active in the community and showing the community who we are and what we have to do and what we can do for them is very important. And so libraries are serving a very vital role in the community and a very needed role in the community. And that community center aspect has become a big part of that value that we show. For many years, we relied on libraries as being known as a public good, that we were known in the community as being a good for the community. And certainly that's very much true today. But we have to work harder at it today. There's so many other competing forces out there. And so we can no longer rely on just that reputation of being a public good. We have to demonstrate that the tax money coming to us, whether we be a public library, an academic library, or a school library, is being put to good use, and that people understand that the money that they're giving to libraries to provide library services is being used efficiently and effectively and is meeting the needs of the community now. When we think about libraries as community centers, we often think about children's programs. We've been doing children's programs at the Kenton County Public Library since our inception in the early 1900s. We were going to schools very early on, and we continue to do that. We also have many children's programs in our branches, everything from summer reading club to programs for infants all the way through children who are in the teen years. And so our children's programming has become very important to what we do, and it has become something that we are known for in the community. And I think that's very important. Bringing the children into the building at an early stage keeps them hopefully coming in the future. And also we're seeing generation after generation of children growing up and bringing their children to the library, which is also a very important and a very cool aspect to watch, especially for our staff. And so when we're looking for programming for children, we're looking for things that keep them active, that keep them interested. Libraries, as you can see, are no longer just quiet places. We expect kids to come in and hopefully have a good time. When kids leave, we want them to say that they want to come back. And so if you look at our libraries, they're very inviting spaces. We want them to be alive and colorful. We want to see art in our buildings. We want to see good displays of our materials. We want to see program announcements so that parents know what's going on. An important part of being a community center is being organized. And so as most libraries, we have a calendar. We put a lot of expense and a lot of time into our monthly calendar, which is sent to thousands of people across Kenton County every month, but also is available at our locations and also available at some other locations throughout the county. We want to make sure that people in the community have as much knowledge as possible about what's going on in the library. Social media has also played a huge role in what we do today. We announce what we're doing in our buildings, whether they be children's events or adult events or family events, primarily in print form, but we also use social media extensively. So we do programs like videotaping so that we can put snippets of what's coming up on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page. We post things on Instagram and on Pinterest. And so all of those kinds of things are, again, building up groups of people, hopefully, who become interested and come to what we're doing. And I can't emphasize enough how much hands-on activity is important to what we do. If you look at the programming that we are doing today, we still continue to do story times, for instance. That's still something that is very much a part of what we do. But we also add things to story time. We do motion, we do music. We're also doing lots of hands-on programs that are science-based. So we opened recently a STREAM Center, STREAM being science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and math. So it encompasses many different aspects of science-related topics. And so we have kits that can be checked out. We have kits that we use as programming in the building. We also do lots of hand-on programming that allows kids to learn about a project and then put it into practice. And so we feel that it's very important for kids to be able to look at what's going on in the world, read about what's going on in the world, and then to get into a project and really work with it and do something hands-on that comes up with a product so that they have something finished at the end that brings that whole aspect of learning, 360. But we also try to do a project with them so that they're not only reading about it, they're also using their creativity to come up with a project or to come up with a design or to put together something that ties everything together. So it's kind of a 360-degree approach to learning. So they're putting into action what they've read, and they're coming up with a creative way to solve problems and to do so in a way that uses their own minds and their own thoughts, of course with the direction of the library staff. And so in doing that, we're able to give children individual opportunities to learn. There's no doubt we're in a children's department in a public library. You can see all the activity going on around me. You can see the design of the space. Libraries are much more than services for children. We do programs for all age groups. We have teen librarians located at each of our facilities. Their job is to work with those tweens and those teens, those kids who kind of fall away from libraries during that time period. We feel it's very important that those kids receive the same attention as our younger children do, and we want to keep them attached to the library. The library is a safe place for them to be. And many of our tweens and teens are kind of in that period where they want to be a little bit independent, but their parents are still a little bit protective. And so the library is a great place for them to be able to come into a building, to have some supervision, but also to have a little bit of freedom as well. But we have found out giving them specific activities to do, even having them volunteer. We have a number of teens that volunteer for us and have a teen volunteer program that we have begun at the library. All of those things keep teens involved and active in the library, and hopefully will keep them active as adults. We also do a lot of adult programming here at the library. Adults are taxpayers. Adults are the people who pay the bills, and so we want to make sure that we're meeting adult needs. And adults typically come to the library to check out books, but they also come for programs, and we're doing lots of programming here at the library. All of our libraries have large meeting spaces, and you will see across the state and across the country libraries building new meeting space. Much of it is larger meeting space because we're doing more and more programs, or just additional meeting space because our current meeting space doesn't meet the need. You're also seeing small study rooms being built. Those have become very popular, not only in public libraries, but in school and academic libraries as well. People are looking for spaces that they can meet with small groups, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, to discuss projects, to talk about job hunts, to talk about projects that they're working on in the community, to talk about the work that they're doing in their classroom. And so those small study rooms have become very popular, And if you build them, they will come because they fill up very quickly. And so it's very important to meet the needs of those people across the spectrum in our community. We're also doing some programming at our library to meet the needs of special needs children. So we do work with children who have sensory perception issues, children with autism. And so we're always looking for areas to meet the needs of everybody in the community, because the library is truly for everyone. And if we are to be a community center, a place that we call the center and the hub of the community, then we must serve everybody in the community. And so my hope as a director is that when people come into the building, they see all kinds of different people, they see all kinds of different activities, they see all kinds of opportunities for everyone to participate, not just a few. What's happening in the community often has an impact on what the library is doing in the community. One of those things more recently has been the lack of jobs in the community. And so we were asked by some local folks to start working on workforce development. And so as librarians, we started doing some basic classes on Excel and Word, which we had already been doing, but we kind of notched those up. We started working with people on doing their resumes, and that was working very well. Eventually, we started pulling together a group that we call the Northern Kentucky Accountability Group. This group allows people who are kind of mid-level managers who have been outsized or downsized to get together and to start discussing their job hunt. The group started out very small and has now grown to anywhere between 60 to 85 people every Wednesday morning that arrive at our Erlanger branch to discuss their work in looking for jobs, and they do consider it work. We have a librarian who we have now named Workforce Development Manager, and her job is to work with those folks who are unemployed. And what she is doing is gathering the group. She's working with them when they're not meeting. She's making sure that they're keeping up with what they're supposed to be doing. She's also doing programs at all of those sessions when they meet weekly. She's showing them library resources that are available so that they know what the library can provide them, databases, using our computers, which is a big issue for libraries, computer use, especially if you're in the part of the state where broadband internet is not readily available. And so many people come to libraries to use our computer resources. And so that's just one example of us responding to a need in the community. Kentuckians love their history, and one thing I notice when I travel around the state is that many public libraries, school libraries, academic libraries have small or even large Kentucky history collections. Those collections can be books, they can be microfilm, they can be photographs. We tend to put them in the corner and allow people to come in and use them, and we don't really necessarily push them as much as maybe we possibly could. They can be wonderful resources for the community and a great way to tie the community into the library. One of those programs can be a scanning bee. A scanning bee is when local individuals bring in photographs from the community and to the library, and library staff will scan them, give them a copy of the scan, but the library keeps the scan and allows people to have access to those photographs. So it's a great way to build your collection. It's a great way to offer a chance for people to preserve their historic photographs and to share their photographs. People love to share their stories. And so doing those kind of projects is a great way of connecting to the community. The Library of Congress Veteran History Program, which is oral history interviews, is another great way of doing that. The program is already in place, so it's basically following the program set up by the Library of Congress. And it allows your veterans in the community to tell their stories. And it shows the appreciation that the library and the community has for those veterans who have served their country. And so that's another great way of connecting to the community and showing the community that the library cares and is relevant. Local history is also a great way to build partnerships for libraries. Here at the Kenton County Library, we have built many partnerships. We have built them with the state of Kentucky. We have built them with the state archives. We have built them with local government agencies. Also museums, historical societies, you name it, we have built a partnership with them to make sure that we're preserving our Northern Kentucky history. We have worked with the Roebling Suspension Bridge Committee. It's a committee that preserves the history of one of our most historic bridges in greater Cincinnati area. So it's a wonderful way of bringing people together, of showing those groups the value of the library to them. And again, that's part of our advocacy role. It's part of what we do to try to connect with what's going on in the community. And so partnerships are very important, and local history is just one of the ways that you can build partnerships. You can do it through schools, you can do it through daycares, you can do it through so many different agencies, the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis, all of those groups out there that are building up the community. Well, we are doing the same thing, and so we all share something in common. And by connecting them to the library, we are connecting them to so much more. We've already talked a little bit about meeting spaces in libraries. We're standing in one of ours right now. This is where we do a lot of our programming. We also need to talk a little bit about meeting spaces for community groups. There are many community groups wherever you live, and these groups are looking for spaces to meet, they're looking for spaces to have programs, they're looking for people to cooperate with, and libraries can provide that. One of the reasons why libraries are building meeting spaces is to meet the needs of our communities, not only for our own internal programming, but for programming that is being provided by these outside groups. So you will see in our building the Rotary Club meeting. You will see in our buildings the Chamber of Commerce having events. You will see local groups that are involved in schools or involved in daycares or historical societies. Lots of different people using our buildings as meeting spaces. The wonderful thing about that is you get those folks who maybe wouldn't normally be in the library to come into the library. So that's an important way of reaching people that you don't normally reach. These kind of spaces are great because we tend to offer them free to the public. So all you need to do is sign up for them, and if they're available, then the group can use them without a cost. So it's showing to these groups and showing to our citizens that libraries are using their tax dollars wisely. They're using the funding that's provided to them in an effective way that is serving as many people as possible. And so many of the groups that have used our meeting space have showed great gratitude to us. They're very excited about having the space. They like that we have the free parking on site. They like that we help them out with the technology and they don't need to be dragging in lots of technology. And that we are just there to help support them in their work. And they really do appreciate that, and I think that appreciation pays off. Library meeting rooms often provide technology as well as just a place to meet. And so if you look around meeting rooms, you will often see screens. These are used to show PowerPoint presentations. We often have large screen TVs in our rooms that can be used to show DVDs or other multimedia productions. Computers and having that technology in our meeting rooms is very important. Sound is another thing. If you're having a large gathering and you don't have the ability to provide microphones and speakers, libraries often have those available in their meeting rooms. And so people see the value in that, and they want to use that space because of that technology. And having that technology in the community, especially if you're in a small community, puts you in a very special place, because you may be the only free, non-for-profit space in the community that provides that to the public. So we always need to be looking at ways of providing technology, providing meeting space, providing areas where people can gather and discuss and talk and just be themselves and be creative is very important to who we are as libraries and librarians. And so these meeting spaces are becoming even more popular, and you're going to see more and more of them popping up across the Commonwealth. One more example about technology that I think is very important. We often have people at the libraries who are trained in how to use technology, and we use them in our libraries very effectively. They set up programs, they make sure that our computers for our patrons and our staff are working. They also can be a great value to the community. We have a staff member at our library who was approached by a local fire department. The staff at the fire department and the police department had to learn how to use iPads. They were getting new iPads, they had new technology, and they needed training, and so they approached us. We have Computer Lab. So our staff member trained the entire fire department and the entire police department on how to use iPads. It was a basic training, but it was a training that was very valuable to them. It showed them the power of an iPad, what an iPad can do, how you can connect to different networks across the county and across their city in which they were working, and really gave them the confidence to go out and do their job with this new technology. Another example is our schools. Our schools in Kenton County were transferring, the cafeterias were transferring over into a new database system. And the heads of all the cafeterias in Kenton County had to learn this new system. And so they needed training. And so we had the staff that could do the technology training, and we had the space. And so the cafeteria workers came to the library. We showed them how to use computers. We showed them how to use the databases that had been offered. And we showed them all the basics that they needed to do their work. And so libraries have those opportunities. We need to find them, and we need to make sure when those arise that we are meeting those needs. But those are two great examples of connecting to the community and a powerful way of saying to the rest of the community that the library is here to serve you. So those are a few examples of how libraries are evolving into community centers. And I say evolving, it's because we are still working at it. You know, libraries are never stagnant institutions. We are always growing, we are always changing. It's important to remind the community that yes, we are still about books. Books are still what we do. Information is still what we do, but we also do so many more things. And by tying in what we're doing with the community, with our buildings, bringing people into our buildings, this is a benefit to libraries, to librarianship, and to who we are as an industry. We want to make sure that libraries continue to thrive and to be strong and to serve our community for many, many years to come. This community center orientation is one way of doing that. And we will see libraries continue to evolve. They have changed dramatically in my 32 years in this field and will continue to change. All we need to do as librarians is to make sure we're meeting patron needs. If we do that, we will always be successful. Thank you.